Hi, hello. My name is Gabriel, or Gabe. You may or may not know me, but that doesn't matter. I'm a random person on the internet. In today's video, I will be talking about a topic that has interested me for a very, very long time. And if you read the title and saw the thumbnail and whatnot, you probably know what I'm talking about. Today I'll be talking about Ross and Rachel's relationship in Friends. Very, very complicated and confusing relationship, but I'll get into that. Now, if you somehow don't happen to know what Friends is, which I'm assuming you do if you're watching this, but if you don't know, then allow me to give a brief explanation. Friends was a sitcom show that ran for 10 years, 1994 to 2004. It revolves around the friend group of Monica, Ross, Rachel, Phoebe, Chandler, and Joey. Okay, and just before I get into this, I just want to surface this video by saying a lot of what I say is my opinion, if not analysis. So, yeah, take what I say with a grain of salt. And also, I'm not trying to defend any of their bad actions, but more so give an explanation to it. Okay, thanks. And also, I don't really want to be biased just because because it's my opinion. I don't want to be biased because these two are some of my favorite characters from the show. Just keep all that in mind. Okay, now let's just get right into it. So, I don't think that we can start this without explaining both of their characters equally. So, I'll start with Rachel. In the show, Rachel is implied to have been in the group longer than the others, along with Monica and Ross, whom she went to high school with. It's very clear that she was best friends with Monica, but did not have as much of a how the hell do you say that? Correlation with Ross, yet, at least. Rachel is said in the show to be very promiscuous, or even a slut, because she was the first one to lose her virginity out of all the girls in the group, and has had various sexual partners. I didn't want to include math in this, so if you watch the series, you can count and tell me if that statement is true or not. I'm sure someone out there knows. Rachel, however, is also a very nice, caring, and as a person, she's very nice and caring, and also kind of confident. But her niceness and caringness, I don't think that's a word, but let's just roll with it. It leads to her even being called a pushover at one point. She also works in a fashion environment and is very passionate about her job. Keep that in mind because that'll be important for later. Anyways, on to Ross. Same for Ross. He met Rachel in high school and stayed around Monica a lot, as she was his sister. Ross is also a very loving, caring person, like Rachel. But he's also a very emotional person. When he feels emotions, it can come on very heavy and strongly, and even accidentally have temperaments of anger or lash out, which leads a lot of fans of the show to disassociate with him. But we'll get more into that later. So overall, he's a very passionate, emotional person, and loves who he's close to. And Ross is a paleontologist to keep in mind. Anyways, strap in for the next part because it's very long. Okay, so I don't think I can talk about Ross and Rachel yet until I explain Ross and Carol. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher her name sometimes because of how I pronounce words, but I just want to explain this before I get into them because it might be important for later. Ross met Carol around sometime in high school, and they started dating around that time. Then eventually, a few years later, they got married and had a son named Ben. But things went sour when Ross offered the idea of a threesome to Carol to revive their intimate relationship. Basically, to put it simply, Carol invited her girlfriend to a threesome and preferred her over Ross's contact. So, Ross had to divorce Carol because she was a lesbian and cheating on him. Now that you know about Ross and Carol, let's actually get into Ross and Rachel and why this whole thing upsets people and everything, why people love it, etc., etc. Their whole thing, So to get started on Ross and Rachel, we have to go all the way back to high school, specifically 9th grade. I touched on this a bit earlier, but as Rachel recounts in one episode, Ross's obsession with Rachel began in 9th grade. Rachel was friends with Monica, Ross's sister, and met him through her. At first, Rachel isn't too close to Ross, but I think she eventually becomes friends with him. Anyways, while Ross and Rachel became friends, despite dating Carol, Ross still has feelings for Rachel, or at least it's implied he did. But when Ross was in college, at a party, he kisses who he thinks is Rachel, but turns out to be Monica. I don't know, that's a very ridiculous plotline. And also, at the same episode, it is revealed that Chandler kissed Rachel first, which made Ross very upset. But they resolved it, so who cares? Really. I also forgot to mention the fact that while they were still in high school, Ross wanted to take Rachel out to prom one year, but she went out with someone else instead. Okay, so obviously Ross was yearning for Rachel for a very long time. So what happened after that then? Well, Ross and Rachel don't see each other for a while after college. But then Rachel moves to New York City after Monica found her in the street. Wait, that sounds like... I hope you know what I mean. Rachel, at the time, was going through an engagement and argument with her father. This argument also plays into the role that Rachel is, quote-unquote, spoiled, which get referenced a few times, but eventually gets worn out from the series. So, when Ross sees Rachel for the first time after years, he falls in love with her immediately again. He even goes as far as to ask if they could go out sometime in early season 1. He also gives Ross also, gives Rachel, an old antique thing as a gift. I don't remember what it was. I'm sure someone who knows can tell me. I think it was an old antique duck, but whatever. It's not really important. Anyways, basically very lovey-dovey crush type stuff that Ross had and did. Eventually, Ross has to go to China for some work thing, probably, and then meets a girl called I don't even remember her name. Some Chinese woman that appears in season 2. Okay, but Rachel was not too happy about Ross seeing her because over those few weeks she developed feelings for Ross she hadn't had before. Okay, here is the good part that I know you all were waiting for, okay? Eventually, after a long conversation and argument, they got together for the first time. Ross was mad at Rachel because she didn't feel the same way when he did, and he moved on to Julie. Yeah, I think that's the woman that we were talking about. So there was a whole big argument while they were at the coffee house, and then Rachel got mad at Ross and closed the door on him, but a few minutes later, Ross came back and they apologized with a makeout session. I don't know, I think it's kind of funny, honestly, but in all seriousness, they probably just did that because they both realized they were there at that time, you know? You know what I mean, okay? Okay, good.
Oh, that's, interesting.
No, it's not interesting, okay? It's very, very not interesting. It's actually 100% completely the opposite of interesting.
I got it, Ross.
You had no right to tell me you ever had feelings for me.
What?
I was doing great with Julie before I found out about you.
Hey, I was doing great before I found out about you. You think it's easy for me to see you with Julie?
Well, then you should have said something before I met her.
I didn't know then. And how come you never said anything to me?
There was never a good time.
Right, because you only had a year, and we only hung out every night.
Not every night. And it's not like I didn't try, Rachel, but things got in the way, like Italian guys, or ex-fiancés, or Italian guys.
Hey, there was one Italian guy, okay? And do you even have a point?
The point is, I don't need this right now, okay? It's too late. I'm with somebody else. I'm happy. This ship has sailed.
So what do you say? You just sort of put away feelings or whatever the hell it was that you felt?
Hey, I've been doing this since the 9th grade. I've gotten pretty damn good at it.
All right, fine. Go ahead and you do that, all right, Ross? I don't need your stupid shit. Good. And you know what? Now I got closure.
Try the bottom one.
Anyways, basically after that, they were officially dating. Or, like, some time after that. Like, very short time. This was the healthiest part of their relationship for a long time. Like, a solid few months at least. There was kissing, dates, intimate sequences, and sweet words. They were both letting out their soft and caring side out, and showing that to each other. Ross especially, he's like that one friend who would literally do anything for you. Like, I mean, when Ross likes you and cares about you, he really does, you know? But these deep connections and attachments can lead to problems in his emotional system. Like I said earlier, Ross can feel things really strongly and can get out of control quickly. So, yeah. Basically, Ross was the more protective, compassionate lover, more so while Rachel was kind of more gentle and respectful. So, that went on for a long time, and they were doing pretty well for the most part. But then Rachel got suited for her dream job. Now this is where things kind of get messy. So Rachel starts working with some guy named Mark, a co-worker or employee or something. And this is where Ross's emotions skyrocket, especially. Ross has a bit of anger towards Mark because he was convinced that he was trying to make sexual advances to Rachel. And if I'm being totally honest, it makes sense. In Ross's first relationship, of whom he was with for 7 years, he got cheated on because he didn't know Carol was a lesbian. Anyone would get trust issues from that. So yeah, I think Ross was fair for reacting how he did. But the way he executed it was not as great. In my personal opinion, Ross should have had a good, long conversation about this, which, to be fair, they kind of both did, but, like, multiple times, even. But, of course, Ross was stubborn, and his paranoia kept reaching higher level, which, honestly, relatable. But this eventually led to a big argument between the two of them, leading Rachel to come to the decision of taking a break from the relationship. Not a break up per se, but a break, like a temporary pause on a relationship. So, Ross, completely misinterpreting what Rachel has said as a break up, goes to the bar to vent to Chandler and Joey, and not having any idea what to do with his pent-up emotions. His emotions become even more pent-up when he gets a call from Rachel while Mark was there. He gets more stressed and angry. And you know what happened then? Well, kids, this is what we call the "we were on a break" situation. Ross kind of got a little bit drunk and slept with another girl at the bar. Now, I don't know the conditions of this when someone is intoxicated, but I know Ross could not have been that wasted, or I think so. I hope so. so he most likely knew what he was doing. Although, when he did find out, he immediately felt remorse for what he did and tried to do everything to make sure Rachel didn't find out. I think him immediately feeling bad does say something, but he did still do it, which is bad enough. I also think he could have told her, but he just had to explain what actually happened. Even if they didn't end well, they still could have worked it out, is what I mean. Okay, I think you get it. And Rachel, reasonably, was very, very upset by this. I mean, imagine the one person you thought was on your side going behind your back like that. You would be upset as well. Rachel loved Ross. They both loved each other, but Rachel loved Ross. This led, of course, to a very large argument between the two of them, and one of the saddest scenes I have ever had to watch. They broke up after that. To be honest, I really hate that the writers made Ross cheat. Ross was such a sweet guy, and they had to ruin him. Now everyone hates him, of course. It's just, why? Anyways, next part. The two of them both had kind of a hatred for each other for a short period of time after that. So much so that they couldn't even be in the same room together at one point. After that, they did have a small time where they did almost get back together, but Rachel wrote an 18-page essay asking Ross to take full responsibility for everything bad that happened in their relationship, and Ross wouldn't do it. Honestly, at that point, it's just take it or leave it. He had the chance to fix things with Rachel and blew it, but we also have to remember that he is very, very stubborn. I also do condone Rachel for trusting Ross enough to want to do that. It just shows how kind she really is. There isn't really much to say after that. They both moved on for a long time and saw other people, as they should, obviously. Then Ross met Emily, and after 6 weeks, they got married. And I'm sorry, but yeah, I think this one is on Rachel. Rachel felt bad for not being at the wedding and went there to tell Ross she still loves him. Okay, look, I know where she is coming from, but it is completely inappropriate to just interrupt a wedding for someone who has clearly moved on from you to tell them that. And what do you guess what happened? Ross said Rachel's name at the wedding ceremony. He immediately restarted and got it right after that. And of course, after a lot of thinking and decisions, Ross and Emily got divorced. Emily even wanted him to never see Rachel again if they worked it out. So, yeah, no. I do have a couple of theories for why Ross didn't want wrong paper. I do have a couple of theories for why Ross said Rachel's name, besides the fact that she was there. I thought maybe it might be because, do you guys ever get that feeling where you're thinking of something or someone when writing or talking and accidentally say or write what that instead of what you're supposed to? It could have also been like that, but either way, I can understand how embarrassed Emily must have felt. I do think they did really love each other and might have worked out if it weren't for Rachel. But what do you think? I could be wrong. Anyways, I might speed through these last parts. But, so after that, Ross and Rachel were at the same point they were last time. They were okay, they saw other people. It was good, basically. Although they did hook up the one time in, like, season 7 or 6, which led to Rachel being pregnant with Ross's child, Emma. They weren't actually, like, parents parents, but they did take care of her. There was also a small time where both of them didn't want each other to see other people, despite being single parents. I also completely skimmed over the fact that they got married while drunk in Las Vegas. That was also around the time they hooked up, if I'm correct. But anyways, not much after that. They stayed just parenting for a bit, and also, they didn't live together for a bit, but then they did again. Then when Rachel moved in with Joey, they got together. I don't know. I just think that's another, really stupid plotline, and a lot of, people who watch the show can agree with me on that. Hi guys, so I just had to say that the footage of me talking, it got, removed or something, deleted, but I don't think I really said much important stuff in it anyway, so yeah, back to that. Near the end, Ross and Rachel hooked up again, near the end of the show. There's no explanation why Rachel keeps hooking up with Ross, so I guess we can only assume it comes from a place of love. But it's revealed at the end of the show that Rachel's moving to Paris for her job, and neither of them are too excited about it. So Ross and Rachel talk about it, and Ross is very upset by this. So when she gets on the plane, Ross calls the plane, telling her to get off, and eventually she does. I hope you guys know I'm doing this by memory, and my memory is not great. But yeah, something like that. Which also led to another one of the saddest scenes I've ever seen.
Come on, miss, isn't there any way that you could just let me off the...
No! Oh my God, did you get off the plane? Did you get off the plane?
I got off the plane.
You got off the plane.
I do love you.
I love you too, and I'm never letting you go again.
Okay, because this is where I want to be. Okay, no more of this. I don't want to mess this up again.
Me neither, okay? We're done being stupid.
Okay, it's you and me, all right? This is it.
This is it, unless we're on a break. Don't make jokes now.
But they got back together, at least it's implied they got together again, and it's also probably implied that they got married again. So, yeah, that's Ross and Rachel for you. As you can see, it's a very, very long and complicated relationship, but they were made for each other, or at least I think they are. I mean, it's not like the writers were saying otherwise or showing us otherwise, but at the end of the day, you'd have to admit they do love each other. So yeah, that's my take on Ross and Rachel. Oh, and if you're an annual viewer, I promise I'm working on the next episode of the comic. I'm trying to take a step back and take some time to resolve issues in my real life and mental health. It will be out though, hopefully sometime this September or October or around that time. And I also haven't said this before, but I'm trying to get into animation as well as not just comics, because I already know I'm good at that. I'm trying to do more the animation, and if you want to see the animation I'm working on in the background, the Billy Shears animation, Beatles fans, I know you see me, I see you too, please give me a chance. But this animation will be out soon, in a few weeks probably, so stay tuned for that if you want to see that. Anyways, thank you for listening to me talk. I hope you enjoy, and see you in the next one.
Totally get embarrassed.
No, I don't, Ross. I think I'm just a more secure person than you are.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Hey, lady! I don't care how much you want it, okay? I am not gonna have sex with you in the bathroom.